Okay, everybody, how's it going? Good to see y'all. Hope you're doing well. Okay, this video is about the final exam prompt for, you guessed it, the final exam. Uh, the final exam's two parts. There's a multiple choice part, and then this video is actually not about that part. It's about the final reflection paper. And so you've done a couple different reflection papers this semester, and they've been really good. So you did one on the Breakfast Club, and then you did another one on 12 Angry Men. And so this is another one. This is the last one. And there's the prompt, and you can find it, of course, in iLearn, not surprisingly. And basically, it's just another paper, but this time instead of analyzing a movie, you're still analyzing group communication, but you're going to actually analyze a group that you're part of. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so let's take a look at the prompt. It says here, San Francisco State University, Communication Studies 250, final exam analysis / reflection paper, analyzing group communication in your group, a group you have been part of or are part of now. Uh, so something that you did in the past or something you're doing now, could be. It's totally up to you. But for this assignment, you'll be turning in a 4 to 11 page essay analyzing the communication group you have been part of or still are a part of in your life. Examples of groups that students have selected in the past have included group project groups for school, for example, high school, college, or middle school groups, like if your teachers give you a group project to do. School clubs, for example, the high school math club or something like that. Sports teams like football, intramural basketball, college volleyball, etc. Sororities and fraternities obviously are ideal for this too. Work groups, for example, Starbucks, McDonald's, Target, families. A lot of people do families actually. That's pretty popular. Roommates, another one that's very popular. Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, family, immediately or extended. Cast of for play, podcasting team, rock band, rap crew, a cappella group, choir, cheerleading squad, church youth group, summer camp, counselors, etc. So obviously, like lots of different choices there, and it's all good. Like you can pick what you want, and it's fine. I'm really flexible, but basically just a group. So make sure that it's actually some kind of a group. So it needs to be at least 3 people. Okay. And it says here it could be a group that you're part of now, or one that you were part of a long time ago, or anything in between. So, and it's totally up to you again. While you learn a lot being in a group, an equal amount is learned via the analysis of that communication situation. Okay. Yeah, that's true. You do learn a lot from being in groups, but the analysis of that is also really important because sometimes people, if they don't reflect on their experience, they don't move on and they don't grow and they don't take those experiences to the next group that they're part of. So by doing a little analysis, you can actually like be more successful. Okay, so he says here you will be using the concepts presented in your textbook. No big surprise there. From by BB and Masterson, as well as other readings provided by your instructor. For example, Bennion Sheets. And of course, Bennion Sheets, that's the group rules stuff that's also in BB and Masterson. So you maybe don't even need to use those handouts. And discussion, lecture material as a lens to view the communication. So you're just using the book to help you understand the communication better. Please quote the authors of your textbook liberally at least 2 times per section of the paper. Assume your reader is not familiar with your textbook, so you'll need to define your terms and use your vocabulary on specific to our academic discipline. And that way you avoid being accused of plagiarism. Just always put the quote marks around things that are quotes and quote the book. And also make sure that you have a source citation. MLA, APA, etc. is totally fine. Chicago, even Peruvian is fine. Always use quotation marks and source citations. If you need some help with that, I put a little guide in iLearn that you can check out when quoting the books, so you can't possibly be accused of plagiarism. When you use terms from your textbook, example, initiator, contributor, assume the reader is not familiar with these terms so that you will be forced to define the terms for the reader by quoting your textbook. Please use specific examples to back up your claims about your group. So, and then specific examples recall in detail specific incidents that took place in your group. And so a lot of people have examples that are really, really generic. It's good to like make them just a little bit more specific, a little bit more detail so the audience can understand it that's reading it, and just to show that it really is that thing. And actually, speaking of which, there is a sample, just like this. This prompt is available in iLearn for you guys. There's a sample paper again, just like I've gave you guys sample paper in the past. There's a sample paper, so you can kind of see what I mean by examples. There's some examples in the paper. It says here, this should be a fun, thought-provoking, and pragmatic assignment for you to complete. What you learn from this assignment can possibly be applied to groups you are part of throughout your life. Please submit your papers via iLearn. Yeah, everything's in iLearn, obviously. What's interesting about this is that a lot of students have told me in the past that this paper in particular just flows from their fingers. They have so much to say about their groups that they've been part of or they're part of now. And then once they actually get started on the paper, it just kind of comes through because they just want to share everything that happened in the group, all the stories, all the incidents, all the ups and downs. So it actually should be fun as long as you take some time out to just relax and enjoy writing it. It should be fun to put down what happened in your group that you're part of or that you used to be part of. Papers should be in 12-point font, or although you're welcome to use like 10-point font or even 11-point font if you want to, if your paper's running too long. I'm not really I don't really get upset about long papers. Don't mind them, but for some students, they don't like turning in a paper that's super long. So you can make a 12-point font if you want. And then you can choose the margins. You can 1-inch margin or a 1.5-inch margin is totally fine. You can adjust it. I think the standard on most documents is 1-inch margin, so you can do that on all 4 sides. And then make sure it's double spaced, of course, just like most of your college papers, I sure are. You can choose your option to have a simple cover page, contains your name, the date, the words final examination, the words group communication. That's up to you. That will not count as one of the pages, though. The cover page is not required. Pages should be numbered. Although this paper is an analysis of the communication that takes place in the group, it is not itself a group project, so you're not like working with other people in the class on it. You just write it by yourself. Please do not forget to include yourself when doing this analysis along with the other group members. Please include a reference page, works cited page at the end. Feel free to use APA, MLA, or Chicago style. This will not count as one of your numbered pages. Please note that the selection below page numbers for the items in your textbook, the first page number refers to the 10th edition, while the second page for the 11th edition. That's the same as before. All right, yeah, and as you can see, there's like a big variation, 4 to 11 pages. That's quite a big variation there. Some of my students like to go into more detail than others, but you can probably just squeeze this into 4 pages if you want, but you can also make it up to 11 pages if you want to. Feel free to play with the margins and the font size and even what font you choose. Like Helvetica takes up more space than Times New Roman, but of course Helvetica looks cool. Okay, introduction, kind of a standard thing. Tell us what is in the rest of the paper. Please include a cook, attention getter, thesis, and preview. Body, for the body, please choose about 3 to 5 of the following 8 areas. So don't try to write about all 8 areas unless you really want to. Probably not. 3 to 5 is perfect. Anywhere between 3 and 5. 3 is good, 4 is good, 5 is good. I wouldn't try to write about all 8. Please note that you are not required to talk about all 8 of them. Yeah, just to make that super crystal clear about you, for you guys. A lot of students would look at this and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's going to be so long." But you just should choose about 3 or 5 of these areas, so you don't have to write about all this stuff. Instead, you will choose any between 3 or 5 of them. It's up to you which ones you choose. It's totally your choice. Okay. All right. So number 1 is roles. So if you choose this one, that actually is pretty classic, right? Because we did a lot of this stuff in the other papers. We talked about roles first in the Breakfast Club a lot, for example. Not so much in other stuff, but Breakfast Club definitely. That was a lot of stuff on roles. So using the roles presented by Benny and Sheets, what roles did various group members take on? It says like initiator, contributor, information seeker, all those different ones. And then again, use specific and detailed examples to back up your claims. And that's where the examples, you can see the sample can show you how the examples come in. And then specific examples recall in detail specific incidents that took place in your group. Please quote the authors of your textbook liberally. Yeah, avoid plagiarism that way, and then just showing you've read the book and that you understand it. When you use the terms of your textbook, such as initiator, contributor, assume the reader is not familiar with these terms, so that you'll be forced to define the terms for the reader by quoting the textbook. Please do not forget to include yourself when doing this analysis. Along with your other group members, please identify at least one role that each member took on and offer one specific detailed example for each member of the group. Number 2, leadership. Did your group have a leader? Were there several leaders? If so, what leadership style did he or she take on? Yeah, and I mean, it's not like the leader is necessarily like elected leader or something like that. It's more you just notice that there can be more than one leader, but just tell us a little bit about them. Please see Bleebian Masterson for explanations of the various leadership styles, so authoritarian, democratic, laissez-faire. Most of these groups are pretty democratic, but we have a few laissez-faire groups. Not too many authoritarian, but we'll see. Use specific and detailed examples to back up your claims about your group. I guess coaches tend to be authoritarian a little bit. Specific examples, recalling specific detailed incidents that took place in your group. Okay, it's kind of hard to remember sometimes the things that happen, but just do your best to remember things that did happen. Please quote the authors of your textbook liberally when you use terms from your textbook. Example, democratic. Assume the reader is not familiar with these terms. So that you will be forced to define the terms for the reader by quoting your textbook. Please identify at least one leadership style present in your group and one specific detailed example of that leadership style being used in your group. Good. So yeah, lots of fun there. Leadership, yeah. And again, this is not like an elected leader necessarily, but it could be. Next up, we have decision making. How did your group make decisions? Please see Bleebian Masterson for explanations of various decision making methods. We're on to number 3 here. Majority rules, consensus, random choice. Actually, you did some of this stuff in the 12 Angry Men one, so that might come up again. Please use specific and detailed examples of a decision that was made and why we've categorized it the way it is. Specific examples recall and detail specific incidents that took place in the group. So yeah, tell us about what this decision was, some of the things that were said, etc., how they come up with the decision. Please quote the authors of your textbook liberally. When you use terms from the textbook, such as random choice, assume the reader is not familiar with these terms, so they will be forced to define the terms for the reader by quoting your textbook. Please identify at least one decision-making method present in your group and one specific detailed example of that decision method being used. Okay, so you remember all those decisions, 12 Angry Men. Now you're actually going to be looking at a decision that your group made. And it could be something simple like we're going to use PowerPoint, or maybe you're in a group and it's like a family situation and it's like, I don't know, hey, we're going to watch a movie tonight, which movie to watch or something. So something like that. Okay, next up, conflict. Okay, so number 4, conflict. Every group has conflict. It doesn't always have to be like nasty or people yelling and screaming. Could be sometimes, but conflict is normal and natural, so it's not a bad thing, and most groups have it. So if you want to, you can tell us about that. Every group has conflict, even if it is not stated formally or recognized by the members. What are the unstated or stated conflicts in your group? For example, did anyone break the rules, and what were the consequences? Like if you have rules in your group, what were the consequences and how did that happen? Did anyone disappoint you by not following through on an agreement? They promised to do something they didn't do. How were the conflicts handled stylistically? For explanations of very complex styles, for example, collaborative, avoidance, competitive, accommodation, compromise, please see the book. Please use specific and detailed examples to back up your claims. Specific examples recall in detail specific incidents that took place in your group. And again, we tend to get like really generic examples sometimes that aren't very detailed. So just go into more detail about like what exactly the people were arguing about and what kind of style they used and then how it was resolved. You can go into detail is the thing. Please quote the authors of your textbook liberally when you use the terms in your textbook, such as avoidance. Assume the reader is not familiar with these terms so that you'll be forced to define the terms, and then make sure you put your quote marks there. So you won't be accused of plagiarism. Functional leadership in chapter 9. So now we're at number 5. Explain rather than focusing on the characteristics of individuals, their functional person examines leadership as behaviors that may be performed by any member. So yeah, anybody can do it. Using the functional perspective to leadership, explain how task leadership and process leadership components were used by various members to lead the group. Please use specific examples to back up your claims about your group. Please see Beebe and Masterson for details on the functional perspective. Please use terms such as initiating, coordinating, summarizing, elaborating, releasing tension, gatekeeping, encouraging, and mediating in your discussion where relevant. Please use specific examples to back up your claims. Okay, so this is kind of similar to roles in some ways, but it's people taking on sort of leadership roles. So it's different from the leadership styles, like that type of thing, which is more like democratic versus authoritarian. Here we're talking about those functional characteristics that they may take on. And you can read about them in the textbook if you decide to use this one. All right, problem solving. Most groups encounter a variety of problems over the course of the life of the group, which they solve, or at least attempt to solve. For example, some groups solve the problem of putting together a PowerPoint presentation. Another group would solve the problem of coming up with a plan. In the solution portion of the presentation, usually the problem solution form. For this part of the essay, you'll focus on the problem of your choosing, which your group solved, or at least tried to solve. Were there instances where they engaged in problem solving, where your group members were what Hirakawa would call vigilant thinkers, insofar as you actually incorporated all or maybe most of the 5 key functions of problem solving described? Please walk through the process step by step of a problem your group solved. Now, so this is a little bit different from decision making. Decision making, usually you make like one decision. A problem is usually like a whole bunch of interconnected decisions that a group has to make. So is a difference between like, what topping should we get on our pizza, which would be more decision making, versus like the group is hungry, which is like, okay, what restaurant are we going to do? What are we going to order? How are we going to pay for it? Where's everybody going to sit? All that. Do you think this led to a better solution? Are there ways that Hirakawa's keys function failed the group? To describe what happened in your group, because your group actually deviated from this formula. Please use specific examples. Yeah, and then if you're having trouble with this part of the essay, because Hirakawa's model fails to capture on any level what your group solved problems, feel free to use this section to suggest how Hirakawa can make his theory better. So yeah, Hirakawa was pretty smart, but if you have any suggestions about how to make it better, that's cool too. You can criticize this stuff in the book. So please use specific examples to back up claims about your book. No big surprise there. Number 7, climate. What was climate like in your group? And when we're talking about this, we're not talking about like, was it cold or hot, like literally. We're talking about confirming and disconfirming responses. So confirming being ones that boost people up, and disconfirming making people feel less than small. Please see Beebe and Masterson for a list of explanations about various responses. Please use terms such as the tangential response, interrupting responses, irrelevant response, impervious response, impersonal responses, incongruent response, direct knowledge, agreement about content, clarifying response, and expression of a positive feeling. Where relevant in your discussion, please use specific examples to back up your claims about your group. So, yeah. We talked about this a lot earlier in the semester, and, this is something where groups can kind of have a vibe. They feel a certain way. They can feel warm or cold, not literally, but sort of figuratively. And so, what was your group like that you're either part of now or in the past? Is it really a cold place, or is it nice? Is it really supportive, or is it kind of maybe not so supportive? And then number 8 is stages and phases. Tuckman argued that groups go through stages of forming, storming, norming, and performing. So those phases they rhyme. Yeah, and forming is kind of the honeymoon stage, and then storming is people start to have conflict. Norming, they start to figure out how things are going to work in the group. And then performing is where you really get stuff done finally. In what ways did Tuckman's stages accurately describe what happened in your group, and what were the hallmarks of each stage, or what things that didn't go so well for Tuckman? So you can decide, what works. And did your groups skip any stages? So yeah, see if that's relevant. It also says here if you'd rather use Fisher's phases, 4 phases, you can use that instead of Tuckman. So if you want to, you can look up Fisher and see if you like those phases better to describe your group. So if you choose that, yeah, it's kind of cool to talk about how this is so great because like if you know about these, then like when you're in a group in the future and you're all freaking out, you can just say to the group, "Oh, you're just going through a phase. It'll pass." You maybe won't say that to the group, but you're thinking it, and it'll help calm you down too, and just understand what your group's doing. Okay, so again, you're not going to write about all 8 of these. You're going to choose 3 to 5 of them. Anywhere 3, 4, 5, any one of them is fine. It's totally up to you. But a lot of students choose 3 because they want to go into more detail. But I could see 5 too. Might make the paper a little longer. You're not going to have to write about all 8 though. Is the point. Conclusion, again, summarize the paper pretty straightforward and include a review statement, tie back to your attention getter. And then don't forget your reference page. We always like to tack on a reference page. Most reference pages just have the one source, which is Beebe and Masterson. That's pretty much the only, you don't have to have outside sources. So yeah, so that's the final exam paper in a nutshell. Feel free to call me. If you have any questions, you can email me and I'll just try to, help you as best as I can. And yeah, this is a fun paper for a lot of folks. It really fun. Sometimes it's an opportunity to vent. It's also an opportunity to celebrate a group they've been part of. I have students that write about groups that they were part of, like when they were little kids, even. And then some groups write about things that they did, like last week, in a group. So, and then everything in between. So, just have fun picking a group. I'm super flexible. Definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say and reading one more paper from you guys. You guys definitely done some good work this semester, so I think this is no exception. And we're definitely looking forward to everything you are probably going to be saying, and just the analysis and the examples and everything. You're going to be submitting it through iLearn. Yeah, so one more paper to do, and then of course the multiple choice part 2 as well. But yeah, I enjoy reading these papers, and I actually get a lot out of them and use the stuff that I learned in these papers for future papers or future classes. It makes me understand group communication better, so it makes me a better teacher. But if you have questions, yeah, let me know. Just email me. I'll try to answer them. Just have fun with it. Tell me about your group, basically, as a starting point. Just anything you want to point out about a group that you've been part of. A lot of people write about work groups. I've heard a lot of great stuff about like Starbucks or working at Starbucks and stuff. It's really cool. Some people work at other places. I did some students that worked at there was some students actually that worked at Apple once. I had a student once that worked at Apple computers. Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, so this is interesting actually. Yeah, so just have fun with it, and then just email me if you have any questions. But thanks so much for doing the last assignment. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it and learning from you guys. And the prompt is available in iLearn, so check that out. There's also a sample in iLearn as well, so you can look over the prompt that I showed you guys, and you can also see like a sample of how it sort of plays itself out as you're doing everything. All right, yay, survived to the last paper. Yeah, so yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, but I'm here for you guys. So otherwise, just I look forward to reading them. Just submit them through iLearn, and we'll go from there. All right.